Welcome to the Secrets of the Bible channel. Often, people have a great interest in discussing Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel. However, it is common for many to overlook an important figure from the Old Testament, Hagar, also known as Agar. Hagar, the Egyptian servant of Sarai, played a crucial role in biblical history by giving birth to Ishmael, one of Abraham's sons. The narrative of Hagar is detailed in the book of Genesis in the Old Testament. In this video, we will thoroughly explore the life of this woman, who became known, especially for her conflicts with Sarai and the manifestation of God's care for her and her son. It is noteworthy to consider that, despite Ishmael not being the promised son, divine providence extended to them in a significant way. This Egyptian woman has a fascinating and intriguing story as the mother of Abraham's firstborn with his servant. Hagar emerges as a remarkable female personality, a former Egyptian slave who transforms into a leader and matriarch of the Ishmaelites. Hagar from slave to leader of a people and matriarch of the Ishmaelites. Most people are already familiar with the story of Abraham and Sarah, and even the narrative of Hagar. However, often people fail to share all the linguistic, cultural, and specific aspects related to biblical characters that are overlooked by many. Hagar, in particular, is often sidelined, and many people have limited knowledge of her story. The Bible does not provide information about Hagar's origin, but it is widely accepted by some scholars that she was of Egyptian descent. There is a possibility that Abraham acquired her during his stay in Egypt. The name Hagar has Semitic roots and can be interpreted as something related to fleeing. Given that Hagar was an Egyptian woman, some scholars suggest that Abraham might have given her this name when she left Egypt to become a servant in his house. Although most are more informed about Sarah and other biblical matriarchs, it is interesting to note that Abraham, impatient with Sarah's incessant requests, eventually yielded to her desires for him to lie with his servant, Hagar the Egyptian. This act led to the conception of Ishmael, the son of Abraham and Hagar. After conceiving, Hagar began to despise Sarai, leading to a great conflict in Abraham's family. With Abraham's permission, Sarai treated Hagar harshly due to her contempt, and fearing Sarai's anger, Hagar fled to the desert. In the desert, the angel of the Lord appeared to Hagar, instructing her to return to Abraham's house. Additionally, the angel revealed to Hagar that she would have an extremely numerous offspring. Genesis chapter 16 records the dialogue of the angel of the Lord with Hagar from verse 7. The angel found her by a spring in the desert, on the way to Shur, and asked about her origin and destination. Hagar replied that she was fleeing from the presence of Sarai, her mistress. The angel of the Lord advised her to return and humble herself before Sarai. The angel continued, announcing that Hagar would conceive and give birth to a son named Ishmael, predicting that he would be a fierce man, with his hand against everyone and everyone's hand against him. Ishmael would dwell in the presence of all his brothers. Deeply touched by this revelation, Hagar called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, God who sees me, acknowledging that he saw her even when she thought she was unnoticed. After hearing the words of the angel of the Lord, Hagar returned to Sarah and eventually gave birth to Ishmael. Ishmael became the father of the Arabs and Ishmaelites, with some Arab peoples being direct descendants of him. It is important to note that not all Arabs have this lineage, but it is a significant point to remember. Hagar, of Egyptian descent, belonged to the lineage of Mizraim, who in turn descended from Ham, one of Noah's sons. Therefore, she was a Hamitic woman, born in Egypt and fluent in ancient Egyptian. Some scholars suggest that Hagar was an educated and polyglot woman, with the ability to communicate in Aramaic. This highlights that Hagar was not a simple servant. Her value lay in her knowledge of different languages. Abraham, who spoke ancient Aramaic and Akkadian, facilitated communication with Hagar. We encounter Hagar in Genesis 16, where she is introduced as Sarah's Egyptian maidservant. However, Midrashic tradition asserts that she was, in fact, an Egyptian princess. Observing how God miraculously saved Sarah by sending plagues to prevent Pharaoh from touching her, Pharaoh concluded, "It is better for my daughter to be a servant in your house than a noble idolater in mine." This may explain her proficiency in other languages. When Hagar began residing with Abraham, Sarah, and the group associated with Abraham, she was an idolatrous woman, a follower of ancient Egyptian polytheism. She worshipped deities such as Ra, Seth, and other Egyptian gods, including Isis. It is said that when Hagar came into contact with Abraham, he and all those with him began teaching the worship of the god of the Semites, the god of Noah. Thus, Hagar began serving the God of Abraham. As already mentioned, the Bible reports that Hagar even had contact with an angel, through ancient prophecies, announced that she would be the mother of many peoples. In her womb, she would conceive a boy who would become the progenitor of several nations, specifically the 12 Arab tribes that inhabited the region of the Gulf of Aqaba, between Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and that mixed with other Arab peoples, including the Midianites, all descendants of Abraham. A lesser-known curiosity about Hagar is that after leaving with Ishmael, she never returned to Abraham. Abraham did not take her back as a wife or concubine. This understanding is crucial, as there is a mistaken interpretation of sacred scriptures that erroneously suggests that Abraham received her back. Abraham's second wife, who was previously a concubine, named Keturah, is also of Aramaic origin, and her name means promised. Many people commonly consider Hagar as the matriarch of the Ishmaelite people, the 12 Ishmaelite tribes. However, the truth is that Hagar was the progenitor of a people that even bore her name. She played the role of the leader of this people in its early days, and everyone there had respect and reverence for Hagar. Although she is indeed the matriarch of the Ishmaelite people, this specific people she gave rise to is known in antiquity and in the Bible as the Hagarites or Hagrites, or Hagrites. Thus, Hagar was the ancestral mother of this people who, both in ancient times and today, inhabited the region corresponding to Palestine and Transjordan. When Hagar returned to the land of Egypt with her son Ishmael, she married again. It is worth remembering that, as mentioned earlier, Hagar possessed notable linguistic knowledge, demonstrating herself as a studious and exceptional woman. She stood out among other slaves for being a polyglot and having a deep mastery of various languages. Hagar was not an ordinary woman. Her polyglotism and knowledge placed her in a unique position. Hagar entered into matrimony once more, indicating that she joined a new partner and later journeyed towards the Middle East, leaving Egypt with her son Ishmael, now an adult and married. In this scenario, they established joint residence, where Ishmael married a woman in the land of Egypt, possibly adopting a polygamous lifestyle and generating offspring through his multiple wives. From this offspring originated a new community, the Ishmaelite Arab people, which persists to this day, occupying the region stretching from the Gulf of Aqaba to the Sinai Peninsula, encompassing Saudi Arabia. The Hagarites or Hagrites have always been associated with the Ishmaelites, maintaining a continuous connection but not establishing ties with other ethnic groups inhabiting the Middle East and North Africa. I appreciate everyone who has followed the video up to this point. Please leave your likes and comments. If you enjoyed the content, please share suggestions for future videos, including biblical characters you would like to delve deeper into. I am planning to produce more videos on these topics in the future. Thank you again to everyone who watched, and may you all be under God's protection. See you soon.